April 16th, 1853. India's first passenger rail line opens in Mumbai. It was commissioned as a prop for a Wes Anderson movie. Welcome to The Revisionists, the show where three comics try to punch up history. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And our guest tonight is another one of my favorite Denver comics. Oh. Sorry, emotions. The always brilliant and wonderful Mara Wiles.
Hey guys, thanks for having me here.
Thank you for being here.
I'm excited. I love history.
That's why we're here,
Yes,
I think.
We love history. We try to respect history on this show.
We try to understand how people thought a certain way and did the things they did when they did them.
Instead of inserting cyborgs into it to make it more fun.
For your day to day, to make it just feel like its real purpose in life has been fulfilled.
Exactly. If you're not familiar with the show, every episode we take a different topic from history. One person presents the true story, and another person comes up with an alternate, and the winning story becomes our accepted history going forward. By the way, the show is The Revisionist. No, I said that. Never mind.
You nailed it.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah, for once you got the intro right.
And then
I fuck it up.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Brian's over here just big talking to himself like I always mess it up. Then you nail it, and then come on, Brian. Learn how to fly.
Crisis of confidence.
Your self-confidence is in shambles.
No, I mean, it has been for a while.
Which kind of happened to our topic today. God, sorry guys.
No, that's fine.
We got to talk about old Benny Franks first.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
If you listened to last week's episode, Ben Franklin, even if you didn't, the result still holds that the alternate history won, which established that the Ben Franklin we know was a robot built by Ben Franklin, powered by syphilis with a keen sense of justice.
Yeah, and now it's some kind of satellite rocket.
I mean, just
watches
regular
over us all, watches over America each night.
Specifically the butts of America.
So there's a Ben satellite, material rocket satellite in the ether now watching over our butts.
Basically.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
dedicated to the study of butts.
Where's that musical? where's that Hamilton?
I mean, it's a very thin concept, to be fair.
There's a lot more layers there. That's like Star Wars meets Mamma Mia,
How is that
real?
Of course. That's exactly how I would describe
It's Quiet Uptown is pretty sad, but it's a real emotional gut punch when he turns into a butt rocket.
Yeah. No one wanted to see that happen to one of your favorite founding fathers who's just
Right,
he
exactly.
was drinking all that beer. It gave him gout, which just turned him into a giant butt. I get it. I get it. I didn't know that little tidbit, but I'm glad I learned it.
Exactly. This week we're talking about King George III, the great antagonist of the American Revolution. Mara,
Tyrant.
We're still upset about
We're
it.
so mad about it.
Mary, you'll be presenting the true story.
Yeah, all the facts will be presented by me. Yep.
And Zach, you'll be doing the alternate.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, then, if we're all ready, Mara, take it away.
Wow. I mean, where does one start with this? So from a lineage of the the Georges, as I like to call them, the Georgies, he was one of 5 Georges. You guys know that, right? Of the monarchs from the Hawthorne. Huh? Mm-hmm. Right? Okay.
Yeah, no, we all
sure,
know.
Sure,
We
you
all
guys all know
remember
the details, his origin stories, if you will.
That 70s sitcom, The 5 Georges.
The 5 Georges, we all got it. We all get in the box set. We know it. We love
What
it.
if all the Georges lived together in one house?
I mean,
I can see that being
that's
made.
like another royal situation. It's like a Kardashians with all Georges.
And again, where's the musical on that one?
I'm waiting still. So, young George was born into this.
Georges stop being polite and start being
getting
real.
Exactly. I think someone needs to write this
Yeah,
down.
it's
I think we're
real-
talking more spec scripts than history right now, you
Real
guys.
world Whitehall, basically.
And they all have those high, beautiful cheekbones and that white skin. That's what my boy George looked like.
And the birthday. Oh, boy George is in it too.
No, I'm calling him my boy,
okay.
George.
Literally every single person in England at the time, and kind of now looks like that.
I think that look of the royal with like the very fair skin and the man bun. That's what I see walking down Broadway a lot,
Wow,
you
it's
know?
a very millennial
He did invent the man
trend.
bun.
He has like kind of some pretty cheekbones. But I always think of all the royals as kind of like They all have some sort of blood disorder. They're all like one cold away from being like deformed.
They're all
or,
incredibly frail.
Yeah, like there's
A lot of
something.
people don't know that they also invented vaping.
Other millennials.
It's from all the powdered wigs. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they love to vape. They love to partake on the vape. And,
BuzzFeed with an E on the end. That was.
he kind of was that kind of guy though. He was like trying to be like your cool friend. But he like wanted to tax. I mean, I've gone too far.
I guess we should talk about something of substance.
I mean, I guess.
Instead of nonsense.
But he, you know, we're going for facts. We're going for the real grit about this guy, George. I mean, he's a multi-layered guy. Sure. Probably he was one of the longest running monarchs. Next to Victoria, and maybe Elizabeth is still giving him a run for his money.
She's passed him up.
She already passed him?
She left that motherfucker.
She's just a tiny little engine that could, right? I mean,
up until the time when she can't.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And,
spoiler alert. The Queen of England's gonna die.
And how dare you?
I think that's treason in some regions, right?
Oh, no.
I'm gonna tweet about it and see what happens. That was the one tweet I got any traction on was when I talked about British TV, and I got so many responses, and I was like, I just don't get it. Anyway, so his dad died when he was 12, and then he was like taught in kind of seclusion by his mother and his like governess. You know, learning the ways of how to be a royal, how to be the next king.
It's a real King Joffrey, King Tommen situation.
And if I watched Game of Thrones, I would be like, yeah, you're right. Because I only know enough to like breeze over it.
Oh,
I know
I've
those
watched
are
Game of
characters.
Thrones and I know I'm not right. It's very
It's all,
thorough.
well, this has more dragons. The real story has more dragons.
Oh, okay.
So then
One more dragon.
And then he becomes the king of England.
So four dragons.
There's like 4 dragons in this story, yeah.
They live next to the 5 Georges.
And I can't recall, who did he take over his crown from? Was it his uncle or his granddad?
I believe it was...
Or like his cool Uncle Jeff.
There was supposed to be somebody else between them, but that fella...
Something happened.
That fella died.
It might have been his dad.
The City King didn't care for the heir apparent who, conveniently for him, died.
Mm-hmm.
And
I feel like this job is,
III.
you don't really get this job on merit. It's more just like, who ate a bad pork loin the night before, you know? Who had the royal taster that fucked up and misdiagnosed that diarrhea? So he became...
It's okay, this is how we all shit.
Yeah, we're all
in the
normal.
1600s.
They probably all had the most horrible bowel movements. Everything probably hurt.
It wasn't until George Washington that someone took a firm poop.
Oh,
So at this time...
just from the wood alone. I try not to even think about the hygiene of the people of the... Yeah. Anyway,
all the people we love from history smelled like shit.
I just feel
all the time.
Well, yeah, I've actually watched a show called How We Became Us or something like that, but it talks about like water treatment and sewage. And it was like even 100 years ago, it's like there was just shit everywhere. There's just horse crap everywhere.
Yeah.
You think, I want to be John D. Rockefeller. No.
Even then.
You don't know what his home smelled like all of the time.
Mothballs,
especially
yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah, I bet it's...
all that money could not get rid of that smell.
There's probably something like the tears of the oppressed or like the oil money or...
It covers up the scent if you just spritz it under your nostrils. But
So I'll never understand these monarchs. They just like covered up with perfume. So then there's our boy George, not Boy George, who was named for him.
Of course.
As we all know, later on, to carry on his proud tradition. So during his reign, he was he helped bring it into the 7 Years' War. He was like, let's get out of here. We don't have any time for this because they were losing all this money, which, led to them having a very unstable economy when the revolution happened. Guys, I could be a teacher. I'm so proud of myself right now. Just a couple quick reads. When the revolution happened.
Well, they were bankrupt from the 7 Years' War at that point.
Yeah, they had tapped it out and, he saw that he was like trying to pull an anti-war in Iraq, like a reverse Audible, I guess, at that point in time.
Iraq, which was at the time referred to as Sand England.
Or I think it was just like where Ali Baba lived, or, just some fairy tale. Actually, they probably knew about it, right?
Well, India, they had India.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It still was like a distant land with many rubies and parcels. So I think, as we all know, that about the Far East or Middle East. Then George, he was like, how am I going to get this money back and still be like that cool guy who everyone's like, George is pretty dope. It's like, well, helping out this, these colonies, they're still suckling off the teat, which is Mother England. They should be tossing back for the goods and services. And, us being bad boy Americans, we were like, no thanks. That's not how we roll. We want that shit. These taxes are too high. The rent's too damn high. So, so he, started.
Don't have a representative in Parliament.
We don't have any reps in Parliament. We're all the way over here. We're not seeing any of the benefits from these taxes. They're just going to rebuild a nation we're not even a part of anymore. And, we got pissed. So, there's the stamps. We're like, we love to, this is all we do for fun. There's no Netflix. We write letters to our family. You're taxing
Talk
me
about how great it would be if there were a Netflix and also movies.
Oh my God. And they had to use stamps for it, Yeah. And then the tea, they taxed the tea. The Boston Tea Party had to happen. He said, fuck you and your tea.
Yeah.
It was Netflix and Quill back in the day. That was
great.
In my life.
But it was good, but it was great. It has a lot of layers.
It hurt so good.
It hurt good and it hurt weird, but it was good.
Put it on the board.
It would be like what's like something they probably did? It
would be like Kurt Cobain.
No, I was going to say curtsy and chill, but that doesn't. I'm trying to think of like an activity. I don't even know. What people did.
Get syphilis and
they
chill.
Just looked at
Get syphilis and chill is more accurate, probably.
Yeah. They just stared at grass and tried to see if there were varmints in it.
Talked about honor, family honor.
Avoid the forests and chill.
The neighbors 20 miles away in the moors. So then, there's all that unrest in the colonies.
Sorry. Die in childbirth and chill. There we go.
Oh, then ultimate chill.
The big chill.
Oh God, George always just like bringing people together too, just like he did. I mean, he was trying to solve, he was shitting in one hand to wipe the other. I don't know how that phrase is real in real life, but
we all know that.
He was trying to take care of,
he would shit in one hand and wish for a clean butthole in the other.
I think that's it. I think that's the term. Which led to, the American Revolution.
I mean, also, if you shit in one hand and you have a clean hand, you could probably clean your own butt.
Well, then he just he's only got one hand, and how are we supposed to respect him with shit in his hand as a country?
Exactly.
That's why. That's how the American Revolution. Yeah, we are made of the what didn't want to be a part of it.
We don't touch it with our hands that we use to till the good earth.
We all recall from American history that the revolution started because couldn't respect a king with shit in his hand.
Which, to be honest, they probably all had lots of fecal matter on them at some point in time because it's just disgusting.
Everybody from history probably smelled like shit all the time.
I just want to keep bringing it up so everyone can keep that in mind when we think of the great minds of the past. So then after that kind of is like a bummer. It's like a vibe bummer, but he has to go on after losing. We lose the American Revolution. Well, we don't, he does. We win. Not me, because my ancestors were not here yet, but whatever. I digress. Somebody did something, and they were having a good time. Then, after that, he's like, I gotta be.
Feel free to look up who won the American Revolution.
Yeah, you know what? You guys check it out. I'm not gonna spoil that one for you. Learn a little something. The
Montreal Canadiens.
I wish, all that. French. But then he ended up being in his reign was about 50 years. Still, he lived to be about 81 years old. He had 16 kids with his wife
he was the longest reigning monarch at the time who had ever lived.
Yeah, and he was he died super old
and the oldest in history at that point.
And he actually stayed married to his wife. I was that was the part where I was almost like, oh, he actually seemed to like his wife. He didn't, no one got murdered. He wasn't doing
because they met on their wedding day and seemed to have a super happy marriage.
Yeah, I read that a couple times when I was doing research for this again. I was like, that's, that is refreshing. You usually hear these she didn't want to be there, or she got beheaded because, she didn't bore her son or something. So it's like, oh, what a refreshing take,
Please don't behead people.
So he had a fairly happy home life. It's it's so funny to think how long their terms their terms. Their reigns can be. But he also suffered with mental illness. He was kind of known to be a little bit quirky.
Which is how he would be described if he was the female lead of a romantic comedy.
Right. He was quirky George III.
Yeah, he had like big episodes in the mid 1780s, and then near the end of his life in the early 1800s was the biggest episode.
So when you say like big episodes, was he like talking to himself? Was he walking around with his shoes on his feet?
He would talk to himself for hours.
With his shoes on his feet?
Until his voice was hoarse.
So he talked to himself for hours until his voice was hoarse.
One recorded time, he apparently talked to himself for like 58 hours straight. There's a rumor that may or may not be true that he tried to greet a tree thinking it was the King of Prussia.
Oh, Frederick, you're here. What a pleasure.
He was like institutionalized, and during those periods, I think his son reigned as the regent.
See, I'm trying to think. I feel like I've seen, and it's, escaping me what the movie would be, but they portrayed like this King George, like kind of losing his faculties. What was it? I'll never remember. But I just kind of remember that the king was just like, okay, when you're trying to shield the public from knowing that their ruler is, losing it essentially.
And the ruler makes it very hard by greeting trees as if they're foreign dignitaries.
Right. I mean, or it could, spice up how we're looking at people and things, a new kind of rule for all in the kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Well, England's got to cut loose. We don't have America to worry about anymore.
So let's try to get the trees on board.
I wasn't even going to try to do an English accent. Exactly.
I was going to say very good English accent.
Very good in that I did not try and did not disgrace an entire nation.
So I think, to sum up George, for the real George that we all want to know, he, started off strong. People thought he was like a go-getter, but after the American Revolution, I mean, on our side of history, he kind of got viewed as this tyrant, this oppressor, this harshener vibe.
To be fair to his legacy, I feel like a lot of that has been revised in the past 50 or 100 years, where he was viewed as a tyrant for a long time. Like, he fought against the Stamp Act. Like, he was eventually part of the reason it got repealed, because he wanted to keep America happy to the best of his ability.
Because he was like a cash cow, basically.
Yeah.
Well, because wasn't it like the Parliament? That's what I've read.
There was factions in the Parliament that had different views from him. And some of them were prime minister for, like, long periods of his reign. So, he was trying his best. Like, he's viewed a lot more reasonably as a ruler today than he was in the first 150 years after the American Revolution.
That's so funny, because I was even thinking that when I was researching for this show. I was just like, he actually seems pretty, out of rulers and kings and all the things you can read sometimes, he seemed pretty fair-handed. He seemed kind of like smart tactically, at least trying to get out of 7 Years' War and like dealing with the Republic. But you think of a Republic that, the colonies. But when you think about like the structure of a monarchy, there's got to be so many, there's no email, that's the thing. It's never really getting to him anyway. I mean, it is like his final decree, but
he said after America won the revolution that he was the last to let them go. But once they had earned their independence, he was the first to recognize them as their own nation.
Oh, it's like when your like dad gives you a car when you go to college, and he's or when you
run into your ex and they're with someone else, but they're happy.
But you're happy for them.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it's like.
It's like that Garth Brooks song,
Also, your ex passes by and you start talking to a tree to make them think it's your girlfriend.
You're over it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a really interesting point that you think about him too, that he was even like, if you love something, let it free. If it comes back to you, that was
originally quoted from King George III after the Battle of Yorktown. But he said it to a tree, so no one took it down.
He was lamenting to a tree.
Well, Mara, thank you.
So yeah, that's it. That's our guy George. He's just trying his damn best.
Zach?
Yeah, a lot of mine lines up with that, but some of it doesn't.
Okay.
I'll take it. I will take it.
I think to understand the story of King George III, you have to start at the beginning. 4.6 billion years ago.
I knew it.
When the Earth was forming.
Sure.
And the question that has plagued science since day one, how does life come from no life?
Agreed.
The answer is, there was always life in the Earth from the moment it formed. They say that the monarchy is chosen by the gods, but that's not true. The monarchy is chosen by the beings that dwell within the earth itself.
Okay.
Mole men?
Or
Are we
lizard
talking
people.
about?
Are we talking
not
mole?
quite. I know this is pretty basic science. But the earth is in fact not a planet, but an egg.
Oh, true. Okay, yeah.
No, very basic science.
Yeah, I think I saw that on a Discovery Channel.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, two great entities lie within the earth. They are called Kef-my-son of the beginning and Sek-my-son, the uncreated.
So is this Babylonian?
Twin
What is-
entities that live inside the earth
Of course.
Okay, all right. I feel you.
and fight for dominance because, like eggs, like two twins sharing sharing a womb, often one must consume the other before there can be a birth.
Right. I was born with like some teeth on the back of my head.
Exactly.
So I get it. Yeah.
You probably consumed
From the battle.
a less powerful twin.
Just kidding, guys. I'm teeth free. These are all fake.
Since 98.
Yeah, they've been removed.
Teeth free.
So the fact of the matter
It's a great way to say you have dentures.
These two entities use humans to claim land on the earth. And if one can ever claim all of the land, that creature will be born as a planet eater. As we all know, this is where Stan Lee got the idea for Galactus.
Sure.
Okay, of course.
From our history
So
books.
one of them became the underlying power for the French monarchy, and the other for the English monarchy.
Oh, totally.
fuck.
Yes.
and
That's where
hence
this.
their constant conflict.
Of course.
I get it. That
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. I actually did not know that. That's good to know.
Exactly. So one of the many scions chosen by the English one was King George III. They would communicate. Not everybody knew about these things, by the way. Obviously, it was kind of a secret because a lot of people would revolt if they thought that this was going on.
Sure.
King George, they said he was very pious. Obviously, not to the Christian God. He was smart enough to know that was a scam religion, as we have established.
As we have established, yes.
He
It's
was
a Ponzi
very
scheme.
pious
Yeah.
The worship of Jesus Quick J Christ.
to he who lives underneath the earth.
Right, of course.
And the throne itself, of course, was a mimic. You've probably guessed this by now.
Sure.
An appendage through which he could directly communicate.
Oh, I thought it was just like an egg-shaped chair. As an homage.
Sure.
It's a little.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
it's
sorry.
A mix.
That's-
I mean, I guess
How
it could take any form as a movable appendage. So this is kind of why, part of the reason why the French and the English were always at each other's throat. It's why the 7 Years' War happened in part. They were trying to get the most land because whoever could get the most land, like
Then
a
they
game
would
of
be the
Risk.
planet. Got
Basically,
it.
they're playing a really long-term game of Risk, slightly longer than a regular game.
And with actual lives at risk.
Sure.
And the world's at stake. Yeah.
I realize I use the actual
The
name.
risk
instead.
Some people did know about these creatures. Their name of Kef-my-son and Shake-my-son, and they wanted to be free from the Mysons, and they were the Freemasons.
Oh, god damn it.
Is this
lot
a
of
running
people
theme?
think
Are they always
they're
involved somehow? They're always involved behind history.
Well, a lot of the founding fathers were Freemasons.
Oh, yeah, I know
course.
that.
They knew the truth.
Freemasons, of course, also an anti-robot society, as established in our previous episode.
Now,
Of course.
do you guys think Freemasons are Illuminati and vice versa?
No,
Remains to be seen, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking in. Just checking in where the pulse is at. Keep going.
So, obviously, I mean, King George III did everything he could to keep America satiated when it started to rebel. He, got rid of the Stamp Act, etc., but it was inevitable. The Freemasons were pushing it to limit the power of these creatures that dwell beneath the earth.
Sure, big government.
The under ones.
Yeah, of course.
Big
because
underworld.
if they ever hatched, the world would die, obviously.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Obs.
They eventually, America obviously won the revolution. And,
Wait, what?
And not the 1976 Montreal Canadiens.
Kef-my-son, in his displeasure, used the throne to start pumping dark humors into the mind of King George III, slowly driving him insane. Obviously, he still used him as his puppet, had him try to fight the French during the French Revolution, because
Right.
any chance to get his brother less power,
Get back into it, yeah.
like, that's a good move on his part.
Get him while he's down.
Eventually, he never forgave him for the loss of America, and he died. I mean, he went crazy.
Sorry,
for a
sorry, I
while.
didn't mean to laugh.
I mean, people thought he was talking to himself a lot. No, he was talking to he who dwells beneath the earth at length. They thought he shook hands with the tree. No, it was another appendage of
What's his name again?
Kef-my-son.
Kef-my-son.
Yeah.
Was that whole thing just to get the Freemasons
Yeah,
involved, or does that have
100%.
like a translation?
100% the Freemasons.
Okay.
But, I mean, obviously the monarchies eventually fell. The fate of these creatures, uncertain. Like, there's still some degree of a British monarchy. It's largely ceremonial.
Sure.
We don't know for sure that Elizabeth is not a pawn of his, blessed with unnaturally long life and reign because of his benevolence.
Is she the same
Again,
line?
treason.
She's the same line, though. Like, isn't her father his great-great-grandson or something like that? Right?
Yeah, it is
Because
descended.
he's a George.
Yeah, descended from the same line. They changed their name to the House of Windsor during World War One,
Right.
to avoid, because originally the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha.
Because that's the,
And there was like, that's too German, so they
Yeah.
just changed it to Windsor.
interesting.
Yes,
Because,
you're
it's
getting-
a German lady, right? Or
Getting
German.
your real history
Yeah.
and my made-up bullshit.
Sorry. Sorry.
But that's pretty much it.
I'm getting chocolate in your peanut
The point
butter.
is that there are two deities that live beneath the earth trying to become
is,
planet-eating gods. And George III was just one of their slaves.
in their competition that I presume continues to this day.
Well, we think so. We're not really sure because
that-
the
who's in-
monarchs are gone. We don't know what form they're taking now.
I'm trying to think who's in France that's kind of like a
I mean,
playmaker.
France has a
He
president.
could have moved bases, moved headquarters.
Could be Donald Trump.
Yeah, it could be.
Did you say Dumble Trump?
Dumbledore Trump.
Which is
Donald-
Dumbledore meets Donald Trump.
I meant Donald Trump, but I probably mumbled into
No, I actually like Dumble
Dumble
Trump a lot more.
Dumble.
Who is great because he wants to seal off Hogwarts.
He wants to build a wall
Much
around
like
it.
the real Dumbledore, he has generally terrible judgment and takes advantage of people.
Yeah, Dumbledore did do that.
Yeah, that sounds like our Dumbledore. Well, Zach, thank you.
Yeah.
So do people call in? Is that what happens now?
So what typically happens during judgment phase is whoever is serving as judge for the episode will cast their vote on air and then throw it to the audience.
right,
The
cool.
phone lines are open.
Oh,
If you have my phone number. So feel free to call.
oh, this live?
No, this is
Oh, I
not
was like,
live.
what?
So when you're hearing this, feel free to call.
Just let me know after the fact.
Exactly. And this is a hard one for me. There are some juicy prospects in the alternate history.
I wish he had more scandal in his real life. I'm sorry. I guess.
No.
Yeah, he was very dedicated to his wife.
Yeah, he's kind of a boring king
Pious.
overall.
He was disappointed at his brothers and sons for not being as pious as him.
Yeah, didn't he? He's like he was all religious too, right? You know,
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
he's religious as fuck.
because he was there to break away from the church.
And he's just like a guy kicking the dirt like, oh, I'm trying my best.
Why doesn't America like me?
That's my impression of King George III.
Why does he sound like a prospector?
Wow, that wasn't it either.
Doesn't have a phone.
That wasn't it either. I just wish America would like me. That's not
There we
it.
go.
That's like Tiny Tim.
I mean, basically, he was like the Tiny Tim of Kings.
Oh,
Oh.
he had like a little foot maybe, but he was normal.
Well, we don't know how inbred he was. He may have had like a weird foot.
They probably all have like a
They
weird.
probably would have written that down, I imagine.
Oh, no, he banned it from all the history books. So yeah, the idea of a lot of human politics being the competition between the under kings of the earth. But on the other hand, the true story more complex than one might think, and it is more sad and tragic than one expects of the tale of a monarch who lost a war.
And then loses his mind.
and then loses his mind. And there's romance in it and shit. So I think for me, I might have to go with the original history
Wow. Whoa.
just because I feel like King George has suffered enough at this point that being the puppet of a mad under
Underground
god.
Fraggle.
Of course, it's not solely up to me. Listeners, you may cast your vote upon hearing this, again, by calling me if you want. I will accept those as votes.
I think both histories can agree that he was just trying his darn best, guys.
He was.
Just trying. He
got-
was either a pawn
You
of
know,
the
for a
system
guy who
or-
was a king, he got dealt a sad little hand.
yeah, he was either being a
He also
pawn
had a
of an
little
underground
hand.
ruler or a pawn of the
Yeah.
parliament, but he was just the guy taking all the brunt force of the hate when it came from America.
Yeah.
A lot of cartoons made about him
Most of them unflattering.
with big butt and like a tiny little wig.
Actually, he liked the big butt ones. It made him feel confident.
He put those up on the wall.
Yeah, on his vision board. Listeners, you can cast your vote at revisionistpodcast.com using the contact form. You can also do that by leaving us a comment on Facebook or Twitter. And while you're using your computer thing, you can review this podcast on iTunes, which is very helpful. For us, we've gotten a lot of really almost overly generous reviews, which I'm
good.
very appreciative of. So thank you for everyone for doing that. Before we go, just a few things to plug. Mara, you host a monthly show called the Funny Side Sessions at Image Brew.
Yeah, I run a monthly show at the Image Brew called Funny Side Session. Like you said, it's the first Thursday of every month. We do original video content, and then we book great stand-ups and have sketch kind of sparkle throughout the show. And there's donation beer from Ratio Beer Works, and it's in this studio space. It's real cool, real hip, real underground.
And you can also check out those
King
videos.
George III would have gone there.
He
with
would
his
have
man
gone.
bun and his
Yeah,
vape.
he would have been with the
Man,
we
but
got
he
we
would have
got someone that looked
longboarded
just
all the way there.
we saw someone that looked just like him the other week. So come on down.
And there are certain parts of town where you can see people talking to trees.
Yeah.
Also, because
They're
mental
on
illness
mushrooms.
is an actual
Oh,
crisis.
yeah, that and mushrooms, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. To be fair. But you can also check out those videos online.
Yes.
Funny or Die.
Yep, they're on Funny or Die, and I'm working on like a YouTube channel too. So get them all in one spot. But yeah, Funny or Die, just type in Funny Side Sessions and you should find them.
Zach, you're, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, co-host of the Stage of Fools podcast
That's correct.
with friend of the show, Shannon Camp.
That's also correct.
Good. Very officious.
I'm ready to name names.
In what?
Like
in
a
what
royal would.
What conspiracy is this?
I don't know, man. You tell me. You brought me here.
Okay. Fair enough.
Whenever I enter a room, I'm ready to name names.
Okay.
It's my standard.
Of course.
It's a rat. That's a snitch mentality right there.
I looked at you when I first met you. I'm like, natural narc.
Yeah, he's gonna give it up if he gets pressured a little bit by the heat.
Just got a real narc face without you.
Sure.
I don't know what that means.
Can't be an undercover cop. That's what it means.
As for me, I mentioned in a previous episode, I'd be performing at the Denver Improv May 4th. That show has had to change its date, and a new date has not been announced. So if you are waiting outside the Denver Improv for that show to start,
Not happening.
please leave. That is private property or something.
Go to Toby Keith's Bar and Grill.
I think that closed, actually.
I
Oh,
mean,
poor Toby Keith.
poor Toby Keith.
I know. He loved that bar and grill.
It was all he had in the world.
Exactly.
What could he be proud of besides that? His music? I don't think so.
No, only that Bar and Grill gave him any happiness.
Did he sing that red solo cup, that red plastic cup song?
Probably.
I don't know. Did he sing that
maybe.
song about putting a boot up Saddam Hussein's ass?
Yep.
I don't think he mentioned specifically. In fact, I think that was
We'll
about
put
Al-Qaeda.
a boot up his ass 'cause it's the American way.
That was a poppier version of it, certain. God, we've ended 2 episodes in a row with singing.
Oh, really? Good. I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys should keep it going. It's a
You
good
and
way to
Mesa,
go.
I know. I
Mesa's
feel like
musical, sure.
Oh, I know. He's like a song with a beard.
Hey, we're in the revolutionary period and we've all listened to Hamilton.
Exactly.
So it's an inevitability.
Yep. I am both excited and terrified of the Hamilton episode because I don't know how we're going to avoid just playing 30 minutes of Hamilton songs.
That wouldn't be a bad episode.
Actually, that'd be great.
It'd be our best one yet.
Well, yeah, of course, because it's Hamilton. Mara, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys. That was a lot of fun.
Zach, thank you as always. Quick thank you to Josh Hollis for doing our artwork. I'm Brian Flynn,
I'm Zach Powers.
and we'll see you next time.